Warning! The following episode of Orsini's Uncensored Mind contains explicit language and adult content. The thoughts and opinions stated on this show are reflective of A.J. Orsini, the Steve Dave, and their guests exclusively. Seriously, guys, my dada and uncle say some pretty crazy stuff. If it offends you, go be butthurt somewhere else.
Welcome to Orsini's Uncensored Minds, and now your host, AJ Orsini with Dave.
Hey. Hello. Hello, everybody out there. It's your boy, AJ Orsini, here with episode 323. I am here in the house of O, all alone. Don't let the question mark fool you. Dave would normally be here. But he is not here this week. Dave is off at the homestead taking care of some family business. So it's me and you tonight, boys and girls. I am solo a la mode. I have not been solo on an episode in quite some time. And I gotta tell you, I was a little apprehensive. A little piece of me said, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, this is the week that we call out here. Because I almost did it last week because of an illness. Because I was sick. Because I was under the goddamn weather. So I almost called it in last week. But we pulled through. And we made it happen, Captain. And we're late again this week. Apologies. But again, there was some family business that needed taken care of. And Dave's off taking care of that right now. And he will be back. He has assured me that he will be back in the co-pilot's chair next week. As a matter of fact, we're scheduling our sit-down for Thursday because that's how deep into the business we're getting here. It's going to take a few days to take care of. It's important family business. So he's going to be taking care of that. He'll be back in the chair on Thursday. So we'll be recording on Thursday, which means the episode next week, we're not going to leave you hanging. We're letting you know now. Next week's episode will air the next day on Friday, which would be this is next week, so it's the 3rd. Next week, the 3rd, is when the episode will air out for everyone to listen to. So you got a little bit of some time between the episodes. If you guys are through with all the newer episodes, we've got some stuff over on the YouTube channel you guys can check out. Not just on the YouTube channel, but we're sharing all across all of the social medias. And as of right now, I guess I'll just go ahead and let everybody know. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We are on some app called Mastodon. And we are on Threads. Those are the locations in which you can follow the show, in which you can follow me personally. All of Dave's social media is kind of personal. I'm not going to give out his personal shit. You want to follow the show, find out what's going on with Dave through the show. You can follow all of the social media channels there. And of course, I don't say this enough. And I'm usually just so hyped to get into the conversation that I usually kind of skip this, and I really shouldn't. But we got merch for sale, baby. We got shirts. We got all towels, socks, all kinds of shit that are available to you guys. If you want to help out, contribute to the show, head over to this is an easy location to go to, ajoum.com. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's the only place you need to go to get up to date on all of your AJ Orsini OUM merch. Get some of that swag going for you. All you need to do is head there. I really should plug that a whole lot more. As a matter of fact, I should probably plug it just in general because I don't think I ever really plug it on the show. I plug it on the social media. I plug it, at shows. I don't really plug it on the show all that much, which is kind of stupid when you think about it. But I don't need you judging me. Fuck you. I'm a busy man. I got things to do. As a matter of fact, before we get this underway, and I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going to talk about here on the show. I'm going to give you guys the heads up now. Obviously, without Dave here, this is going to be a little bit more condensed. I have no real reason to be out here all this goddamn time talking about the topics and the subjects and the wussets. So, before we get into the topics that we will be, or I will be, discussing here on the show. See, I'm so used to doing it with him now that I can't even intro it without him. But we're going to talk about some stuff here with the wrestling stuff and more wordplay. But really quickly, I ran into a situation at the start of this. Another reason why this was probably going to be another one of those days where I just take a seat and go on about my business, go on about my days. Because I ran into a situation with school. Now, for those of you who listen to the podcast, you know that I am already the holder of a bachelor's degree. My bachelor's degree is in physical education K through 12. I have the ability, should I need to be able to work in the school system as a gym teacher, as a PE teacher, but I have my hands in many things involving the human body. We'll leave it at that. And I have my hands in a lot of different sections. And so I wanted to pursue the master's degree because the master's degree opens way more doors than the bachelor's does. So I'm currently in a graduate program right now as we speak for physical education. And I started this over the summer. I talked about this on the show, so I don't know how many people either caught it or didn't catch it. I'm not entirely sure. But I am going to school to further my education on the physical education front. So that's what I'm doing. I did it over the summer. I'm currently enrolled in fall classes, so I'm in between the show and the editing and my job and wrestling shows. I actually have schoolwork as well. So your boy has got his hands in a lot of shit, okay? A lot of shit going on. All right, I got to do all that, plus I got to be super dad, plus I got to make my wife have orgasms. It's a busy time. Tough time to be old AJ, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So I got an email today. This was literally hour, 2 hours before I even got on the air here and started recording. I got an email from my school, which I will not name, to tell me that I am missing a transcript. My official transcript, actually, from the place to which I received my bachelor's degree. And this is an odd time to tell me that I'm missing a transcript because, as I just said, I just completed summer courses. I'm in the fall classes. We're underway here. It's September. And we're knee deep. I'm like 4 or 5 modules already into my education here or into my courses. And they're telling me that they're going to put a hold on my accounts and everything and my classes and everything if I don't get the transcript thing figured out, which they didn't tell me until just now was even a problem. So we're rectifying that little piece of work. I don't even know how the fuck I could be in classes if I don't have a fucking transcript. Which is bullshit, because I know I just said that's what they said. But it's not true, because when I applied for the school, it asked me for my transcript. And I have 2 schools. One that I started with, I got my first, I want to say 30 credits, something like that. My first 30 credits or so at that school. I transferred to another school to complete my bachelor's degree, which I did do. So I needed 2 transcripts. I sent 2 transcripts. I paid for the school to send those transcripts to my graduate school, and now they're telling me now that it never came. I paid for those fucking transcripts in April, and they're telling me in September, with 1 week to go before I get a hold on my account, that's when they decided to tell me that they don't have the actual fucking transcript. They don't have it. So what's a boy to do? So I have to go to my previous school, curse them the fuck out, so that we can figure out what's going on, and then have that sent to my current school so they don't fuck me on my current courses. Which is going swimmingly, by the way. Still have a perfect score, 4.0 on the board. And I don't want that ruined by chicanery and tomfoolery. So I'm working on shit. I'm trying to get shit done over here. I got my hands in the jar. And in the midst of all that, by the way, I was going to tell David about this on the show. Hopefully he'll either listen to this now or I'll repeat it next week. Operation Be Less Fat is working out really, really well. We've dropped some serious LBs here in the House of O, and the cardio is getting better, and everything's looking good, and I'm even starting to feel a little bit better, and the diet has completely changed. We've cut out. I basically haven't had rice in like a month. The fast food has come to practically a complete stop. And so we've been doing a lot of exercise. We're swimming. We're doing a lot of that. I've cut out basically all the fast food, all of the sugar stuff, all that stuff's out. I'm eating fish or tuna fish. I know people don't count that as fish. But I'm taking my omega-3s as a vitamin. So, I can't stand fish. My wife eats that stuff. She eats fish. She eats shrimp, all that stuff. So she's really good with all that stuff, and bless her heart. But I can't touch the stuff. I can't do it. I can't touch it. So at the same time, I just, I do the best I can when it comes to the diet. That's my Achilles heel. If I'm really being honest with myself, I could train in the gym, no problem. No, I'm not to pat myself on the back, but the athleticism's there. I could do all that stuff. I got no problem with getting into the gym and lifting heavy and doing all that stuff. I got no problem hitting the cardio stuff. I got no problem with the swimming. I'm disciplined in every aspect of my life, down to my responsibilities with my family, everything. Only Achilles heel that I have, my one true great weakness in this world, is fucking food, man. I fucking love it. Delicious. I love it. I take the shit to the face all the fucking time. I love my sweets. I love my meats. I'm a caveman. I'm a Neanderthal. Okay? You give me a steak with a cigar, I'm a Scotch guy. You give me a nice Scotch and just get the fuck out of my way, man. Put the wrestling on the TV. Heaven. Father's Day and birthdays. It's cigar. It's steak. It's a little bit of the Scotch. I'm a Dewars man myself. Dewars or Dewars, however the fuck it's pronounced. And put on the wrestling, baby, and Daddy's in heaven. Daddy is in absolute heaven. He can't be bothered by nobody. So, that's the kind of lifestyle that I'm used to living, and I really haven't had a lot of that recently. And for the right purposes. I could divulge, I could do the Scotch every now and again, and I could do the steak, obviously, every now and again. But, this time around, I wasn't really looking to lose weight. I was looking for a lifestyle change, because that's the one that always gets me. Like I said, that's my Achilles heel. I always lose the battle of the food. I do good, and then I slip right back into my fucking bad habits with the fast food and everything like that. So this time around, we've done some different things. We've done the research, which I think is important. We've done the research, and by that I mean I'm finding foods that are higher in protein and less on the fats, except for the the monosaturated and the good fats. But we started finding foods that are better for us and don't taste like ass. Because that's another problem. Good food, healthy food, expensive, and it tastes like ass, like straight butthole. I can't really explain it any less colorful than that. I have tried. I've gone to the supermarkets and said, can you point me in the direction of the non-ass organic food? And they're just as confused as me, because there's no such thing. It's a catch-22. You can live longer, but you have to eat ass, or you can just eat like shit and be a fat ass. It's one or the other, and there's no real way around it. That's the way of the world. So we managed to find some foods now. We're building a library of foods now that we do like, that we do eat. It's a complete, so far, it's only been a month, but it's been a really big lifestyle change for us, which was exactly what I was going for. We have the scheduled eating times. We have the exercise times. Like I said, I'm so busy. I have to schedule almost every aspect of my day. Even I have to schedule time to not do shit. To just wring the brain out. Put my Oculus on or play a video game or something to just not be worried about the fucking rest of the world for just a second. Just so I don't go fucking insane. Because I'm juggling quite a bit. So, and not for no reason either. You know, the show has been doing pretty well. Like I said, my schoolwork's 4.0. The diet, as much as it's a pain in the ass it's been, is going well. I'm losing weight. So that's a positive. So, I mean, it's taking everything that I got. Like Scotty from Star Trek, Pombo. It's taking everything that I've got to get through the days that I have, but we're doing it. We're getting there, and soon, you know, school will be over, one less thing. The diet will have worked successfully enough for us to be at a much healthier place, so that would be less work. So things will dwindle down. It's just, man, the commitment level that it takes to do all the stuff that I'm doing is fucking astronomical. You know you're doing a lot when your wife walks up to you and just goes, "Fucking hell, you're doing a lot of shit." It's like, yeah, I am. I'm doing a lot of shit. So we have to keep those things in mind. I'm trying to keep everything as balanced as I possibly can. So, and then shit like this with the school, setbacks like that, it's very frustrating because you just wanna go through your day. You know, you just want to go and handle your shit and not have to worry so much about other miscellaneous things. You know, you want to just focus on what the next task is and move forward. When you complete a task, move on, and then you're told something happened, so now you have to go back to the previous task. It is frustrating because you just want to move forward. You don't want to go backwards and do whatever the fuck that thing was asking us to do. So it has been a trial and tribulation-like situation. Dave is going through some similar stuff. If he wants, he can go into detail of what that is when he comes back. If not, then that's fine. Share his story. He could share his story if he'd like, or if he likes. That's on him. But, you know, we're all going through our own stuff. I'm not sitting here trying to make it sound like I'm struggling and, I'm in this terrible place. But, you know, just sharing it out there for the world, what's going on behind the scenes here and what it takes to kind of put all this stuff together. So, just putting that out there, you know. We do have some stuff here other than my own personal bullshit to talk about. There was some huge news over the weekend. Well, not huge news. Everyone knows that there was an event that took place. Wrestlepalooza took place this Saturday in Indianapolis, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, were there some mixed reactions to this one. And I say mixed, honestly, to be polite, because this pay-per-view was kind of killed a little bit. We'll get into the specifics of what happened at the actual pay-per-view, including one of the topics that came up at the pay-per-view that I will separate from the discussion when it comes to the pay-per-view. I will get into a little bit more of a Hall of Fame discussion. There was a huge announcement made at the Wrestlepalooza show that Stephanie McMahon will be the first inductee. Well, they say first, but they're usually the main event. They're usually last. But she's going to be the head of the class of 2026. She's going into the Hall of Fame. Mixed reaction from people. I don't personally believe that it should be. I think it's well deserved. I'll get into why a little bit later on here on the show. And I have aside from the Wrestlepalooza stuff and aside from the Stephanie McMahon stuff, there is another topic that I would like to talk about, and that is called My Greatest wrestling wish. Yes, we're going to be talking about my greatest wrestling wish. There is something that I wish would happen more in wrestling, and we're going to break down exactly what that is, and hopefully someone will listen to this and start putting some of it into practice. We'll see. But yes, my personal wrestling greatest wish. Like I said, folks, we ain't going to be here all night. I got a few things to talk to you guys about, and then we'll be back next week full throttle with the fucking co-host here. We'll do the whole shebang. I know he wanted to talk about Wrestlepalooza. I can't sit on that for a week, so we're going to do the Wrestlepalooza stuff here for sure. And then we will get into more talk at the end here, actually, about the anniversary as well. Our 8-year anniversary comes up October 11th. It's coming up very, very soon. I'm going to talk about what that's going to look like and how you guys can be a part of all of that goodness. You guys are going to get a chance to be a part of the show in your own unique little way. We'll talk more about that later on as we go ahead. So let's go on. I didn't do the sound effects for the, what are we talking about? I kind of just got into it. But, for editing purposes, I kind of like the effects have helped me out a lot with the cues and everything and where I'm able to edit. These effects, by the way, will be changed. We're going to have a whole new look and a whole new show starting October 11th. I'll get into that again at the end of the show. But let's get into our first topic. Let's get into our first segment here. I want to talk about my wish.
Let's begin segment 1.
So, I have a wish. I have a wish for professional wrestling, and it has nothing to do with the WWE. It has nothing to do with AEW. It has nothing to do with TNA. It has nothing to do with any of the mainstream national brand companies. This wish that I have is for the independent wrestling scene. Now, before I begin talking about this, I know people are going to listen to this again and they're going to go, dude, you're in the indies. You really shouldn't be. I'm not here to trash anybody. I'm here to give my wish, what I wish to see more of. Not trashing anybody or shitting on any company in particular. I just want to share an opinion and a thought process with people, right? And what that opinion and thought process predominantly is you hear a lot from people, especially those who are on the independent wrestling scene. You hear the term, there's a phrase that people use, and that phrase is support local wrestling, right? And I've heard that one 1,000 times. As a matter of fact, here on the show, I have refuted that claim. I have refuted people saying, support indie wrestling. And by refute, I genuinely mean I don't like that sentence because it's very, very vague. I don't like support your local indie. No matter what that indie is, you should support it. I don't believe that. I don't think that's the right attitude to have. I don't. Because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Not every independent company deserves your money, deserves your time, and deserves your attention. There's a lot of companies that are out here that are doing business in the wrong ways. They're not taking care of their talent. They're not taking care of their staff. They're not taking care of their customers, the fan base. They don't promote. They're siphoning money off of the vulnerable, off the people who are looking to get into this business, that they're whoring out, that they're taking full financial advantage of. There's a lot of people on the independent scene that have a tremendous passion for being in professional wrestling. They want so bad to just be in the industry. And because of that, there's so many people out here that are looking for an opportunity to take full advantage of that. Full fucking advantage. And personally, I think it's just kind of fucked up. And for those people, I say, I don't think you should support them. I don't think it's that outrageous an idea for me to sit here and say, not every independent promotion deserves your time, your money, your respect. The ones that do, I think those are the ones that you should support. The ones who go out of their way to make sure the experience that you have with a wrestling show is top-notch. As good an atmosphere and as good as a platform for professional wrestling as they can possibly give you. It's independent wrestling. It's shoestring budgets. Everyone knows that, right? I'm not going to sit here and lay claim that everyone should just go broke, every single chance that they get to put on a show, that they should just ball out. Let's get everybody on. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying spend a bunch of money and do a bunch of crazy shit and no, none of that. I'm talking about doing your best to put your best foot forward to create an atmosphere that is fun and interactive with the fucking fans. That's what I mean by my greatest wish, because I've seen people who have resources. I've seen people who have the ability to put together phenomenal shows, but what they're missing out on is the panache, man. It's that special something that people don't really get it. They don't really pay all that much attention to when they go to shows. And it's not even all that noticeable until they go to a show where it doesn't happen. Because then it becomes absolutely 100% noticeable. And all of a sudden you're going, subconsciously, all of a sudden it becomes a thing of like, I don't think that I like this company. I don't think I like this brand of independent wrestling. And you'll get some good shows out of some people. You'll get some great crowds out of people. And then out of the, not for nothing, out of the goddamn blue, it all goes away. And they don't know what happened. They don't know, what did we do wrong? How did we turn these people away? They were giving us all the money that, they were supporting us. And now they have no interest in even coming anymore. And I think it comes down to the experience. So I went to a show very recently as a spectator. I was not booked on the show. And I'll shout them out because they put on a really good show. Everyone seemed to be invested. Everyone loved the show. The action was great. The atmosphere was great. This was kind of what fueled the ideology of, man, I wish there was more of this. You got to give people a reason to want to come to the show outside of the wrestling. I know that's a foreign concept to people. As a wrestling fan, they just assume, well, I'm coming to see the matches, which is true. But, look at the example of all the sports in the world today. When you go to any sports venue to watch a sporting event, you're not really going just to see the sporting event. If you are, that's great. It's there for you. But there's a lot of people that go to these events now. They're not there just for the sport. They're there for the atmosphere. They're there for the experience. And that's why now you go to ballparks, they've got bars, they've got video game sections, they've got interactive play, there's an area for kids. There's all kinds of shit now when you go to these entertainment spots. It's not just the one thing anymore. Before, you get up, you go to the ballpark, you watch the sport you came to see, and then that's it. That's the end of your day. But that's not the world that we live in anymore. It's not. The people want other things. Like, for instance, one of my biggest takeaways from every wrestling show I've ever worked, ever in my entire life, one of the biggest things that drives me up a wall, it happens, and I mention it at every show. But if you're running a wrestling show, a wrestling event, and you open doors, and all you hear when you open doors is crickets, there's no energy in the room at all. All of the wrestlers have left the ring. They're now in the backstage area. It's just a ring and some people trying to solicit you and to try to get you to buy some merch and whatever the fuck's happening. whatever they're selling, snacks, raffle tickets, whatever. And there's nothing going on in there. There's no music. There's no lighting. There's no atmosphere. There's nothing happening. You're just out of place. You just went somewhere. And, the first few times you go to a show like that, you get it, right? After a while, you get used to the idea that this is what the company does. But it doesn't entice you to come back to the show. That's a small thing, I get it. But you would be surprised how much of a change a small thing like that could possibly make for you. Especially if you're an independent company and you're, shoestring budget here. Something as small as you already have a DJ because you need to play themes, right? You already have a music person there, but you're not utilizing that person to the fullest of their potential, what they can do for you. They can do so much for you. They could play music when the doors open. They could play music leading up to the opening of the matches. Obviously, they do the music for the actual show. They can do the lighting, right? There's people out there, they just use house lights. That's it. That's all they have, which is fine. That's what we used to do back in the day. But my God in heaven, I mean, there's no atmosphere with that. I was mentioning a show that I just went to as a spectator. I don't think I said the name of the company, but it was Bree Combination Wrestling, BCW. They did a show out in Ridgefield Park. I went out to support friends. I don't go to wrestling shows like that. Unless I'm booked, I don't go to the show. And the reason why I don't go to the show is because of shit like this. There's no atmosphere. There's nothing exciting about the shows anymore. The actual shows. Forget the wrestling for a second. Just for the actual shows. There's not a whole lot going on with that. There's no music, there's no lighting, there's no atmosphere, there's no you can go 2 hours before you ever even hear the ring announcer. The ring announcer doesn't welcome you to the venue. They're not leading you to the merch. They're not prepping you for what's going to come. They're not hyping up the card. There's absolutely nothing going on as it relates to the show and getting you amped for it. There's nothing that they're doing that is getting you excited as you're just at a place. And this goes to my greatest wish, right? I wish more people would take that into consideration. Create an atmosphere, create an environment, show people that this is a place that is fun to be at. Get them to a point where not only they don't want to leave, but they can't wait for the next time that this show runs. Another wish of mine, and this again is a situation that's in their control. This is actually more in their control than the other stuff that I just mentioned. If you don't have the financials for a full-on DJ, if you don't have the financials for a lighting rig or anything like that to create more of an atmosphere, understandable. But this next thing I'm going to say for one of my greatest wishes is 100% in everybody's capability, in everybody's wheelhouse. Everybody can do this. Just a lot of people just don't give a fuck about it. And that thing is keeping your respect for the audience. Keeping your respect for the audience. I feel I feel a show that is anything above 2.5, 3 hours is outrageous. I don't even like 3-hour shows, personally. But to have a show that goes like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, on an independent level, it's fucking disgusting. It's disgusting. You don't have anybody on this card that is worthy of that kind of a fucking event. This isn't WWE. This is a bunch of local talent trying their best to get over in front of an audience. It's not my fault you hired 40 or 50 freebies or whatever the case may be, and now your show takes 4 or 5 hours to fucking complete. There's no reason an independent company should have 12, 13 matches on a fucking card. It's outlandishly disrespectful to multiple groups of people. To the wrestlers, because there are promoters to this day who have a rule that nobody can leave until the show is over. You have to sit there and wait and wait and wait for this never-ending stream of wrestling match and wrestling match and wrestling match. And by the time you get to match 11, you don't remember match 3. It's in the past now. You have no memory of it. Because usually the cards that go 12, 13 matches deep don't have any memorable matches on them. It's not like you're exhausted from banger after banger after banger. That doesn't happen. It's a promoter, it's a booker, it's somebody who got mad with power, decided they're going to put all their friends on the card no matter what. Everyone's going to get a payday. We don't give a shit how it happens. And then you'll have 13 matches, and it will be 6-way this, 8-man tag this, battle royal this. It'll be like 13 matches and 2 singles matches. Everybody got fucking booked on this fucking card. And all the while, all these other fucking people who paid good money to come to the indie show, and this is the shit that they fucking get for their dollar. It's fucking insane. It is fucking insane to me. That's high-key disrespectful to everybody involved. Another great wish that I had. If you're going to charge people front row seating, meaning you're going to tier your seats, first row, second row, and then general ad, you need to start doing something for the first and second row. You need to give them an incentive to buy first and second row tickets. Because I experienced this recently, and I think I said this when I went to the BCW show. When I don't do it often. But when I do buy it, well, I was going to explain. If I don't normally go to shows that I'm not booked at, but when I do go to a show where I'm not booked, I buy a ticket. I buy a ticket every time. I've never in my entire career ever asked for a free ticket to go anywhere. Anywhere. Not a single time have I ever asked anyone, hey, can I get a free ticket to go to the show? It's never happened. Okay? I buy a ticket every time, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to buy a fucking ticket. Stop asking people for freebies. Just buy the fucking ticket. Okay? And when I buy a ticket, I always buy general admission. I buy the cheapest ticket. Because the idea is I just need to get into the building. Because it's an independent wrestling show. You didn't rent Yankee Stadium. This isn't Madison Square Garden, where the seat that I purchase is going to be hindered by distance. It's a fucking independent wrestling show. It's a bingo hall. It's a VFW building. I could watch the matches just fine from the back wall. It's not that fucking far. But you're charging more for first row. I could pay $30 less, sit 2 rows behind that person, and can see the same exact thing that they see, clear as day. So simply being front row is not incentive enough for people to buy front row tickets. That's why for everybody out there who has sold tickets, they usually get 40, 50 tickets deep in the general admission area before they hit 4 or 5 tickets in the fucking first row. And if you're doing first row, second row gen admission, that's even crazier. What is the difference between the first row and the second row? What is it hindering? And not a lot. It's not hindering a whole lot. So what's the difference? What's the incentive? Not a whole lot. Offer something. Meet the wrestlers. You buy a front row ticket, comes with an autograph book. Then you can sit around and you can get autographs from the fans. Or if you get a front row ticket, you get free pics. You can take pictures with all the wrestlers, or whatever the case may be. You buy front row tickets, you get food stipends, right? We'll give you some coupons or something. Get yourself a beverage, get yourself a snack on us. Something. I don't know what specifically, because it depends on the fucking venue and it depends on the fucking people that are putting on the show. But you got to offer these people something. You can't just say, $50 front row, $40 second row, and then general admission at $25. You can't do that to fucking people. It doesn't make any fucking sense to even do it. Another great wish that I have. We already said it before about the multiple matches, the long duration of shows. Okay? Another wish that I have. Enough with the hardcore shit. Enough. If you're a company, a GCW or an XPW or something like that, where that's like the theme, that's the whole styling of the company, that's what you do, that's different. Because that's the package that you're selling. If you're just going to call yourself a wrestling company, and that's what you do, you're a wrestling company that hires wrestlers to do wrestling, then leave the hardcore shit alone. Because all it really does is it just makes it makes a lot of noise, and it doesn't go well for a lot of people, because there's a lot of people who do that shit that ain't about that life. They're not about that life. They're not hardcore. They don't want to get hit with shit for real. I've seen too many fucking hardcore matches in my career where everyone just kind of half-assed it and powder puffed, because they just legitimately just didn't want to get hit. If you didn't want to get hit, I don't understand what was the point of getting involved in a fucking hardcore match. Because now you just look goofy, softly hitting each other with this, getting into the right placement for this. And then, not for nothing, this is an independent wrestling company. So now you're damaging the venue. You're putting my deposit at risk. You're breaking shit. I was, myself personally, was in a match with a group of friends where I was not physically in the match. I managed the team. It was a six-man tag. I managed 3 on one side against another team of 3, and we had it was a street fight. It was the end of a feud, or the blow-off, and it was a street fight. It was come dressed as you are. And everything was going okay. They used a lot of different weapons, and the only weapon that set things off in the wrong direction was, for whatever reason, somebody had a tiki stick, right, where you light the stick on the top or whatever, and they broke the tiki over somebody's back, and the part that you light, the top part, the tiki part, came flying off the stick, and it went into the audience. It didn't hit a single person. It just went into the audience. And that was it. The State Athletic Commission said, nope, they got to end that match right now, or we're shutting down the show. And so we did a quick go-home spot. Baby faces go over. We go in the back. We're pissed because we didn't know about the State Athletic Commission thing. And then they told us, they were like, yeah, they were going to shut us down or whatever. We had to go home early, blah, 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 blah. And we didn't even do anything that crazy. I have personally seen hardcore matches on the independent scenes where they just started gushing. I have personally had to sit there and witness EMTs come to the wrestling venue. And before it became legally mandated for a New York organization to have EMTs on site, they had to literally call them. And I've been there for that. Just hemorrhaging, just bleeding. For what? For what? We can entertain the people another way. I'm not saying we're going to rule out hardcore wrestling altogether. No, there's a place for it. There's a time for it. But you don't need multiple people on a card doing all that kind of crazy shit. Unless, of course, like I said before, that's the theme, that's the vibe of the whole goddamn thing. GCW, old school ECW, whatever the case may be. If that's what you're selling, then that's different. But there really isn't a need for all that stuff. So these are just some of my wrestling wishes. I wish people would take more time into creating an atmosphere, man. An atmosphere for wrestling. Please, we need more of it. Give these people a fucking experience. Let them fucking go to your show and go, God damn it. Circle the next date. I've been there where fans walk up to the promoter and go, fuck, when are you coming back? When are you doing another one? I gotta know. I gotta be there. create that kind of buzz. You don't want to pull a Knox Pro and create that kind of buzz. Do it the right way. Have some fun. Give these people a sense of fun. That's good too. So yeah, those are a few of my wrestling wishes. I hope more people take advantage of the resources that they have. I really do. Because I think we need more of it. Let's get to the next clip here.
Next up, segment 2.
So, the Hall of Fame is kind of, let's be honest, it's always been kind of a controversial topic, right? It's always been that way because, you know, there's no physical, tangible building. There's no set, written down criteria. For a long time, the Hall of Fame was just at the whim of a madman. It was just whatever the old man felt was the appropriate time to put in, whoever it was he felt it was appropriate to put in. And the range of people that have gotten into the Hall of Fame is, you know, astronomical. There's been conversations for forever about all the different people that have found their way into the Hall of Fame for WWE. And there's always a discussion. Every year there's a discussion. This person deserves it, this person doesn't deserve it, the whole shebang. And so now, what we have here is we have a situation where there's another conversation taking place. Over the weekend at WWE Wrestlepalooza, The Undertaker made a very shocking appearance at the show. And what he did was he took his motorcycle, rode around the ring, and then parked it in the front row, and then just sat down in the front row with Stephanie McMahon. And they pretended to have this weird, awkward conversation. And then Taker pretty much blurted out that Stephanie McMahon will be headlining the class of 2026 Hall of Fame. Now, somebody made this comment on social media that I wanted to jump on. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, especially with Dave. There was a person who made the comment that when Vince McMahon was in charge of the WWE, and when Vince McMahon was in charge, more specifically, of the Hall of Fame, that he didn't use those opportunities to put over himself, put over his family. You know, he was always trying to look out for other people, which is true. He did do those things. And now that Vince is no longer here, we've seen Triple H go into the Hall of Fame. We're now seeing Stephanie go into the Hall of Fame. There's been a huge outpouring of people online who were suggesting if this is the case, Shane should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. And people are looking at that now and saying, well, geez, now that TKO is in charge, this is the route the company is going, that it's just going to start using things like this to put themselves over. And here's the only thing that I have about that comment. If Vince McMahon was putting in family members that we had never heard of, if Vince McMahon had been putting in family members that we did hear, they did perform, they just really bad at what they were doing, i.e. a Linda McMahon. I would never put Linda McMahon in the Hall of Fame if we're talking about just performances. Business-wise, maybe Linda actually does still get in. Business-wise, for what she did for the WWE. But on the performance side, absolutely not. We don't put her in the Hall of Fame at all, no. And that leads me to Steph. Because if you're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, you know, they're just putting over family, you know, I get it. I get it to a degree. She is family. But she was a hell of a fucking performer. Before we got sick of it, before it ran itself into the ground, she was a hell of a goddamn performer. A hell of a performer. Not just I'm not talking about in the ring. Yes, in the ring, you know, she left a little bit to be desired there. She got better with age, but over time, yeah, she wasn't exactly the best in-ring performer. But her storytelling, her character work, as a babyface, as a heel. Obviously, when she first debuted in the company, she was just a naive, innocent little daughter of Vince McMahon, and then she went through a Las Vegas sham of a wedding, only to become this vixen, this hated, bratty heel, the wife of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and then she would go on a hiatus after that and come back as a babyface general manager for SmackDown, where she's getting her ass slapped by John Cena and all that stuff. And then there's of course, the run with the McMahon Helmsley era, where she just, not the first one, but the authority era, I should say, where she's back to being a heel and she's emasculating everyone on camera. She's had up, she's had down, she's had all arounds, and she has been, okay, yes, she's the boss's daughter, but damn, I can remember a lot of segments where she just dominated as a performer. Just Hall of Fame to me for her is without a doubt. I don't think there really is a question that she's a Hall of Famer. Just based on, I can't, the package alone, when you guys see, when they put that package together of all the things that she did and all the things that she achieved, and that's just on camera. Because right now, when they made the announcement that Stephanie McMahon was going into the Hall of Fame, man, when I tell you the outpouring of support from the women's division, of all the people who were stepping up and just saying, "Godly, this is well deserved. It's finally here. It's time. Go, Steph." Naomi with the tweet, "I'm not missing this. I might have the baby at the Hall of Fame. I'm not missing this for anything in the world." Steph was like, "Jesus, don't have the baby at the Hall of Fame." Well, but she is. There is support there. Say what you want about her when she was the SmackDown head writer, and there's mixed reviews as to how that revolution actually started from her end. But at the same time, there's no refuting the evidence. The evidence being is that when this announcement was made, this was one hell of a supported decision from people within the industry. Outside, there's always going to be people who support, people who don't support. It's subjective. People who go for it, people who don't go for it. It is what it is. But to see the outpouring of support from people in the industry who were so happy with the idea that she was going to go into the Hall of Fame, it's just heartwarming shit, dude. It really is. She was a woman who was allowed to go farther than any other woman in the history of the industry, yes. And she was able to do that because she was the boss's daughter. Also, yes. But it's not enough. It's not enough to just be the boss's daughter and be on camera. You got to be good. You got to be good. And she was good. She was in there doing promos back and forth with Stone Cold Steve Austin, with The Undertaker, with Triple H, obviously, with Shawn Michaels. She was in there with some of the best of all time. She did angles with Kurt Angle. She did stuff with The Rock. Some of the Rock's best stuff has been insulting Stephanie McMahon. Of course, that's the only crime in this Hall of Fame situation. The only real crime in the Hall of Fame deal is that I would give anything in the world for Chris Jericho to be a part of this, because Chris Jericho and Stephanie McMahon is like Flair and Steamboat. Those two, for whatever reason, will forever be framed together. Those two, Chris Jericho, Stephanie McMahon, I could listen to those promos on my television set anytime, anywhere, even to this day. The stuff about her boob job and the stuff about the bottom feeding trash bag hoe or whatever it was that she's brutal. Here it is. Filthy, dirty, disgusting, brutal, bottom feeding trash bag hoe. Son of a bitch. That shit used to get me every fucking time. That's such a mouthful. He remembered it every fucking time he had to say it. So that's like the one thing about this, again, with these fucking these rules with people, and we're, just like where everyone's upset that we can't get Edge and Cena one more time, which is absolutely true. It's absolutely upsetting that we can't, but I understand why we can't. And so, you have this situation with Steph and with Chris Jericho. And there's so many different people that she's interacted with. I don't think this is a conversation to be had. I think this is a fucking no-brainer. I think she's a Hall of Famer without question. And I congratulate her on her run into the Hall of Fame. I'm going to be very curious who goes in with her. And I'm also very curious as to why they made that announcement in September. We are a ways away from WrestleMania weekend. We are at least 5, let me see, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are about 7 months away from WrestleMania weekend back in Las Vegas. And they're already talking Hall of Fame, which is weird to be talking about it in September. But here we are. And, I wish Stephanie McMahon all the success in the world. One last question, actually, I have. And Dave's not here, so I'm going to turn it over to you people. I'm going to turn it over to the Squad of O here. And I'm going to ask you guys the question. Because I think it's a fair question to ask. Does Vince McMahon get permission to be at this Hall of Fame induction? Are we allowing Vince one night reprieve to be at his wife's, at his sister's, I'm sober, folks, his daughter. He skeeted into Linda and out came Stephanie. That's how that happened. His daughter, I'm tired, so leave me alone. I just told you I had a bunch of shit going on. His daughter is going into the Hall of Fame. Do we give him the reprieve? Now, there's a lot of people who are going to say absolutely fucking not. He's being sued for malicious shit, and that's the reason why they've kept him away so far, and they should continue to do so. But here's the thing. That's exactly right. He is being sued by a lot of people. I know Janelle Grant is the name, but let's be honest, she represents a lot of people. There's been a lot of people over the years trying to get this guy, and this is going to be the opportunity for them to do just that. But there's already a precedent being set with Brock Lesnar being back, who's also a part of that suit, and they were able to clear him. And since there has been no court case yet, only the allegation and the initial paperwork, there's no legal reason that he can't be there. Me personally, on a personal level, I don't need to see him there. I don't need to see him there. I don't need him to be a part of any of this for the same reason that I didn't need to see him for the Hogan thing. Because Vince McMahon was very upset that he wasn't invited to the Hogan tribute. But I can understand 100% why they wouldn't want to do that. Hogan himself is already so controversial as it is. To have Vince at that show would have been a tremendous mistake, because it would have been all about Vince McMahon. And it would have been all about Vince McMahon being there. What a moment. The headline would not have read, Hulk Hogan tribute takes place on Raw. It would have been, Vince McMahon returns to WWE during Hogan tribute. That would have been the headline. And that's going to be the headline here if they do it here. They're not going to sit here and say Stephanie McMahon earns spot or head of the class of 2026. They're going to say Vince McMahon was back. It'll dominate. It'll not be about the thing that it's supposed to be about. If for as much opportunity as Vince McMahon gave Stephanie McMahon to be the performer she eventually did become, it still takes work to maintain that for as long as she's had to maintain it. So this should be her night. So me personally, I don't think Vince McMahon should be anywhere near this. But I have to acknowledge that I am probably alone in that thought because, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on or next actually when we talk about Wrestlepalooza. Wrestlepalooza opened up this weekend with a montage and a package celebrating the fact that WWE and ESPN has previous history leading into this big historic event. Vince McMahon footage played during the package. Now, they were smart during Hogan. I had noticed that they didn't play any Vince McMahon footage during the Hogan deal. But they did play footage of Vince McMahon here for the ESPN package. And I'm sorry, folks, but he got a pop. He got a pop. They popped for Vince McMahon. When they saw Vince McMahon on the screen, they went nuts. And, you know, to each their fucking own. If they're cool with it, they're cool with it. Okay, cool, fine. But this idea, don't bring Vince back, it'll kill the whole... Well, no, that's the problem. I think people might actually want to see Vince there. That's why I'm asking the question. Do you want to see Vince there? Me, personally, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need Vince McMahon to be anywhere near me. Or anywhere near Steph's whole celebration deal. I don't need any of it. I don't think anybody really, in all honesty, wants it either. You know, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hall of Fame, like I said, 7 months from now, so we're not gonna know for a while what's going on with that. My wife brought up a good point. She said, "Well, who do you think inducts her?" Well, here's the funny part. If this whole thing wasn't happening with Vince, I would have thought that it would have been Vince. I don't think her and Shane are all that close. The only obvious choice here is Triple H. I guess you could say that The Undertaker could do it. If Triple H wants to absolve himself from having to go up there and put his wife over. But, you know, that would be the obvious choice, I guess. The husband. You could do The Undertaker. They have a history. They're friends. So we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting night. I'm also very curious to see who the rest of that class is. That should be really interesting to see because they're running out of names. If you notice, they've shortened down a lot of these class lists now as well. Not as many people going in at once. So we'll see. So we're gonna go on. I know again, this is a short version of the show, folks. I've been telling you, it's the short version of the show, but that's all right. We're already here at the main event. Let's go ahead and just get right into it.
It is now time for our main event.
And in our main event of the evening, this past Saturday in Indianapolis, Indiana, WWE Wrestlepalooza took place. And there were some not so good reactions to the PLE as a whole. You know, a lot of stuff going down. Now, Dave's not here, so I don't have the opportunity to chastise him, but I will chastise him when he comes back. Because I was listening back to some of the clips from last week, and you know, because I was editing, putting stuff on the YouTube channel and stuff. And that son of a bitch said, you know what? I know you. And you're going to cave. And you're going to get the ESPN. And then and that's how you're going to watch the pay-per-view. And I was not as sure as he was. So, the day of the show, Saturday, we took my son to a play date. One of his best friends took him to an indoor playground. They went nuts. Not an indoor playground. It's like a how can I describe it? It's like an indoor urban air type situation. This is a trampoline park with an arcade and slides and all kinds of weird shit, foam pits, all kinds of cool shit. So him and his buddy are playing around or whatever. I got stuck with shoe duty, so I'm over at the table, and my wife goes, "Hey, you watching the pay-per-view tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to, but I'm not really sure, even now as we speak, how this is going to work." And I mentioned on the last show that we had the bundle. We had Disney, Hulu, and Max. So Steph goes, can we change the bundle to Disney, Hulu, and ESPN because they offer that bundle for the same exact price? So I said, we could, but I like Max. I like the shit that's on Max. So after some research, we realized that Max on its own is still very affordable for us whilst making the package more realistic for us. Disney, Hulu, ESPN. So I decided, okay, so we'll make the trade. I'll get rid of Max from the bundle for ESPN, and then I'll just pay for Max on its own, which is cheaper than the $29.99. It's like $16 or something like that. So we're good. If anything, I'm just adding $16. That's no big deal. Okay, fine. Whatever. And so I go to the Hulu. For some reason, it's Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. But the only way to manage my account was to go to Hulu. So I went to Hulu to manage the account, and I wanted to change my subscription to include ESPN. It gives you the step-by-steps on how to do that. So I followed the steps. And then I decided for the ESPN, I put it through, and then when I put it through, it didn't refresh. So even though I kept changing it over and over and over again, it wasn't giving me ESPN. So I remember the last time I had an issue with my billing stuff, they had an online chat with an agent. So I said, you know what, I'll go to customer service, I'll figure this out. So I go to customer service. I tell them that I want to change my bundle from Max to ESPN. I'm trying to do that on the app, and it just won't let me. So I'm wondering if I could do it here. She said, yeah, no problem. Then she asked me she goes, is it okay if I ask you a few questions concerning your account since you're attempting to change your subscription that might affect your billing? I said, okay. In my head, I'm thinking the price is comparable. So I don't know how it changes my billing all that much, but it is a change in billing. So, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So she puts me on this unrelenting barrage of questions. Starts off normal, credit card stuff, billing stuff, when's the last time you had a payment, the whole shebang. Then it starts getting into weird shit. All of a sudden now, she's asking me what devices I watch Hulu on, which, I guess my ass wasn't an appropriate answer to that. It's like, what kind of, laptop, phone, it depends on where the fuck I'm at. I don't just have a singular area dedicated to just watching fucking Hulu, Disney, or Max, or whatever the fuck. So I told her, that exact answer with devices, and then she goes, okay, what brand of devices are those? Like, what brand of TV, what brand of... I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't have that shit memorized. I don't know what brand my fucking TV is. Cause I have, 3 TVs in my house. They are not all the same fucking brand. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it now. There's a Toshiba in my room. There's a Vizio in the living room, and I think there's a Sony in my son's room. So, I don't fucking know. At the time, I didn't know the fucking answer to that question. I know it now because I was curious, and I came home and looked. And she goes, okay, what were the last 2 things that you viewed on Hulu in the last 30 days? I'm like, is this chick for fucking real? So, I was like, I gave her mine. And the one on my dad profile, and she said it was wrong. I was like, ma'am, it's my account. It's not wrong. And I sent her a snapshot. This is a chat where you could take pictures and you can send it to the chat so that the person on the other side can see it. I said, it's right here. And she said, well, do you have any other profiles on the account? I was like, a couple. So I sent her the last 2 from my wife. And he goes, that's wrong. I was like, son of a bitch. And I put, for my son, Alex, And I sent her those. And she goes, nope, that's wrong. I said, what the fuck are we doing here? So the other only profile on my account is my sister's opened up a profile so that they can watch Hulu at my house without disrupting whatever my algorithm or my wife's algorithm is. So because they're over here a lot and they watch Alex for us from time to time, so they got their own profile. So I said, okay, here's my sister's profile, and that was correct. And I said, motherfucker, right? I'm getting agitated. I was on the phone for like an hour and change. And then all of a sudden, the fucking straw that broke the camel's back for me, I couldn't do this shit anymore. She asked me, when did I open the Hulu account? Like, when did I start paying for, like, Hulu? When did I first get it? I said, ma'am, what in the fuck are we... I lost my shit. I said, what the fuck are we doing? What is this? I just sent you snapshots. I very clearly have access to this fucking account. The email address that is attached to my streaming devices are my personal email, obviously, but it's a personal email that has my name on it. So my email for the streaming site is my shoot name down to the JR. So I was like, this is very, very, very clearly me. So what the fuck are we doing at this point? So she said, well, these are billing questions that the company has us asked to make sure about the account and this, so, and the fourth. And then says, if we're not able to verify all of the information, what we could do is we could cancel the bundle outright. And then you just have to re-sign up for a new bundle. And I about threw my phone against the wall almost, because that's what I thought we were going to do. As previously stated, I had been on the phone with customer service with Hulu before for a very similar issue, and that's what we did. We canceled the as a matter of fact, now that I'm saying it out loud, I remember the exact issue. The exact issue was I was paying for the apps separately, and it was obviously cheaper to do a bundle. So I had got on the customer service chat to make sure all of my shit could be bundled so I could pay less. They agreed, and I went through Hulu to get it all put into a bundle. That shit took 10 minutes, 15 minutes. This chick had me on for like an hour. And all she really wanted me to do was the shit that I did the first time for the 15 minutes. Just cancel your fucking subscriptions outright, just cancel them, and then re-sign up. I said, ma'am, I thought this is what we were fucking doing. Are you kidding me? You putting me through all this shit and we're not even doing it the way that we're supposed to be doing it? I said, ma'am, cancel the fucking subscriptions. Just fucking cancel them so I can do what I gotta do. And she canceled them, and then I signed up. That shit took 2 seconds. So what the fuck are we doing? Why are we going through this bullshit? For fuck's sake. And then after we got that fucking taken care of, then I went on and fucking did my Max so I can have it all together. Otherwise I'll forget. Then I'll go to work and I'll put my Max on and it won't fucking work and I'll be pissy and in a bad mood. So I took care of everything. But Hulu was trying extra hard not for me to be able to get this fucking pay-per-view. They were trying. They were doing their damnedest to make sure that I didn't get this fucking pay-per-view. So I do get the pay-per-view. And I don't watch the pay-per-view on time because I said we're out doing stuff with my son. So by the time I got home, we're like an hour and change deep into the show as it is. So I had decided I'm gonna test this app out, right? I'm up, I'm on it, I got it. We're gonna watch the fucking pay-per-view. And so, like I said, it's already been on for a while. So I go to Disney because that was the blip I got on my phone. I don't have the ESPN app on my phone, but I do have Disney Plus on my phone. So when the pay-per-view started, Disney Plus sent me a message, like a notification on the phone. It said WWE Wrestlepalooza will begin, blah blah blah. And let me tell you, if you listen to last week's show, that you guys understand my love for Disney Plus and for Disney properties just in general. I love Disney stuff, and to see Disney have WWE on its app, to me, was just, it was heaven for me. It was heaven. I was just like, this is everything that I want all in one space. It's awesome. So I put it on, and the second that I put it on, I started experiencing exactly what everybody else was experiencing, apparently. Choked up system, glitch. It was hard to listen to and hard to watch. And we've experienced this before, right? I remember the first time I saw a PLE on Peacock, it was the same shit. Just too much going on all at once, chokes up the whole system. Same thing when they started doing Raw on Netflix. It's too much for the system. It just chokes everything up. It's so funny because I was saying when we were sitting there watching the show, me and my wife and my son were watching the show. We're watching it as a family, and I said, every time a new entity buys a WWE product or a show or buys content, they buy the content because they know that it's a very popular thing. People will pay for it. People will enjoy it. And yet they always seem surprised by the amount of people who actually sit down and try to watch the pay-per-view. Because it ends up being way more than they thought it was going to be, and then it chokes up the system and then has a whole issue. I eventually got cleared up. It didn't do it for the entire night, but that beginning was very rough. Very rough. I also said that if we're going to be petty, let's be petty all the way through. And that's exactly what happened here, because they opened up the show with a package, as I mentioned earlier, a package that showcased all of their history between not just WWE, but WWE and ESPN, with the commercials, with the programming, with the shows, everything they did back in the day through ESPN. ESPN, despite being what folks would call the real sports network, has had their hands in WWE programming for quite a while, and they've showed a lot of that in this package. The package was great hype. I wish I didn't have a choked up system when it was on. I ended up watching it the next day in a much better setup, so I could just watch it straight through and really get a feel for it. But it was dope. It was good stuff, and it really got you hyped for Wrestlepalooza, or at least it got me hyped for Wrestlepalooza. And then the pettiness came out, because Lesnar and John Cena were first. I said it on the show last week. Petty. Just be petty all. If you're going to be petty all the way, baby. And this was them being petty all the way. Lesnar and John Cena to start off the motherfucking pay-per-view is petty persona non grata. That is the ultimate pettiness. However, me being correct on calling the match and me being correct on the length. Because I said, this is John Cena and Brock Lesnar. This match isn't going past 10 minutes. If it was a Lesnar win, it doesn't go past 10 minutes. If it's a Cena win, we're now somewhere more in the 15-minute mark. And, well, it happened exactly the way that I said it would happen, except for one small caveat. When I said that it would go less than 10 minutes, that was not the match I had in my head. I think, if I remember correctly, I remember saying that the finish of this match is going to be very interesting, because how do you beat John on the farewell tour? But how do you beat Lesnar on his return? This is his return, fresh off a multi-year deal. I was saying on the show, so how do you get out of this? How does this work? And the answer to the question was they did not know. That's the end result. They didn't know how to get out of this shit. If they've got a plan, it's not gonna go the way that they think that it's gonna go. We'll put it that way. Because we've seen this match before, folks. We've seen this match before. We've seen Lesnar do the whole will be dominant thing. We saw them do the whole, like when people were upset that Lesnar beat the streak, We're building Lesnar. We're building Lesnar for who? We're building Lesnar for this person. We're building Lesnar for this person. When they were building Brock Lesnar for Drew McIntyre, or when they were building Brock Lesnar for Cody Rhodes. So now the question to me becomes, if this was, we're going to build Lesnar for someone else all over again, build him for who? Because the idea that I keep hearing, and I have heard for quite a while, is they want Lesnar and Gunther at WrestleMania. You don't need Lesnar to burn through people, let alone John Cena on his retirement tour, to build him for a Gunther match. That match is going to sell itself. That match that's a main event anywhere in the civilized world. That's a WrestleMania quality match. That does not need John Cena to fall on the sword for. I'm sorry, it doesn't. This was weird. All the momentum that I had coming into this day, because I was hyped all day. I was genuinely excited for this show. And that first match destroyed me. Destroyed me. What the fuck is this? In the eyes of, and if you're an ESPN subscriber, because I thought about this. I said, if you're an ESPN subscriber, not a WWE fan, you just rolled into your app or to the website or whatever, and you saw that wrestling was going to be on, and I don't know, call it morbid curiosity. You click the button, and you check out the pay-per-view, and the first thing you see is Brock Lesnar just owning the fuck out of some old dude. I think that makes sense to them. Oh, it's Lesnar, former UFC guy, right? Yeah, he should be kicking the shit out of people. This makes a whole lot of sense. But how many people did that? How many people were on that app who don't like wrestling or never seen wrestling and then tuned into wrestling? I got to think that's a smaller percentage of people than the people who specifically came to that app because of the pay-per-view and because they wanted to see this pay-per-view and because they wanted to see John Cena on his farewell tour. And this is what they gave him. This is what they produced. And it wasn't. And this match, for the record, this match is the exact same match that Lesnar and Cena had after Lesnar had beaten the streak. And Cena's excuse, reason, however you want to look at it, for the way that he sold that match to Lesnar, he said, if I have a competitive match with Lesnar following what he did at WrestleMania in defeating the streak, then we ruined everything we did to get that heat on Lesnar from the streak. When he said that at that time, it clicked and it made sense. As he said in the interview, the old Arn Anderson quote, "It's just not your night, kid. It's just not your night. That's it. It's Lesnar's night. So let's just get in there and do what we need to do." But that Wrestlepalooza was not Lesnar's night. That was your night. And I know John's not the kind of person to just sit there and just pull rank like that. I'm not saying he's never done it, but in a situation where it's solely just a situation where he's going to go to bat and it's solely just going to benefit him is, in fact, a rarity for someone like him. But sweet baby Jesus, if you were going to do it, I'm going to safely assume your retirement tour is the time to fucking do it. This was not the match it should have been. There's no excuse for it. There's no reason for it. None of the above. This should not have gone this way. It did not have to go this way. Even if the end result you wanted was Lesnar over Cena, there's a million and one ways that could have gone as opposed to the way that it did go. And I don't know who made the call, and it's not like they have to run the call by me or anything like that. But this was no good. This put a sour taste on the rest of the show. We have 4 other matches to talk about here. But if we're being brutally honest, none of them mattered after this. This was considered to be one of the main event matches of the entire show. I said last week, if this match doesn't open, and I thought that it would, then it's the main event. that if it didn't go first, it was going last. It's that important of a match. And it wasn't treated like it was important. It was a throwaway. He has like 4 or 5 appearances left, and he being John Cena. He's got about 4 or 5 appearances left. They burned one for essentially a squash match. And I'm going to be 100% honest still in saying there's no reason for it. They have one in their head. They have one that they've told one another. There isn't really one. This shouldn't have happened. Not in this fashion. Not in this way. And now we're hearing from people that going into the building, John Cena was going over. And then there was a conversation where they had changed. Again, I'm not sitting here suggesting Lesnar should have done the job. The issue isn't who won the match. The issue with people is the match. The fact that this is the way that it went. The fact that this is the way that it was booked. That they thought that this was going to be a great opening opportunity. It's the first match in the ESPN era of PLEs. That's the presentation that you give people. That wasn't the way to go. And to be honest with you, it soured the entire rest of the PLE. It really did. Everything that followed that was in trouble. A lot of trouble. Because the crowd, everything, they were chanting bullshit. This was not it. It was not it at all. And, you know, you don't want to paint the entire pay-per-view, PLE, whatever the hell. You don't want to paint everything in a bad light due to one thing, but it's really hard not to. In this particular case. It is extremely hard not to. Because this was the takeaway. I know everyone has a problem with a lot of the matches that took place here. One in particular that people look at and say, okay, that was the match. Everything after this. This is a prime example of a bad leadoff right here. This was a bad leadoff. And I feel bad for John because John was getting a lot of momentum. He was starting to get into the groove again. He was having great matches again. And then here we are. So, I don't know. This is a situation where they may be hurting a property like Brock Lesnar as opposed to helping. I don't know if this helps Brock Lesnar in any way. But we'll see. It was exactly that. It was 8 minutes, 50 seconds. It was below the 10-minute mark. It didn't seem like 8 minutes. It felt like 80 minutes. The standing around, Brock Lesnar's face went from white to pink to red to almost fucking purple. He was so blown the fuck up. Almost purple. He couldn't breathe fast enough. And, you know, Cena just took a shit ton of bumps for no reason. And now we're hearing they're not even going to touch again, that they're moving John to something else. What a waste. What a waste. The next match, The Vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker taking on the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. And this was a Raw tag team match. That's all that it really was. Hyped entrance, of course. The Usos coming out there to the old Uso theme and then transitioning into Jay's Yeet theme. Dope. I'm a big music guy. I like paying attention to that stuff. Dope stuff. Match itself, it was a match that could have very easily been in the middle of a Raw somewhere. And I know everyone's pointing once again. They like to jump on the bandwagon. Jay with the injury, right? He swings the chair at Braun Breaker. He catches himself. Ha 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 ha. Is what it is. Shit happens. I'm not going to give the guy a tremendous amount of shit for it, to be honest with you. It is what it is. It happens. I've seen people get injured from the stupidest shit. I've told the story here. One of my good buddies, Whiplash, got a metal rod put in his foot because he bent his leg backwards from a baseball slide. It be like that. It's the simplest shit sometimes. It just kind of fucking happens. I'm not going to give him shit for that. That spot alone wouldn't have saved the fucking match any goddamn way. It didn't matter. This wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't a bad match. It was just a match. Nothing about this match felt special or inspiring or anything. And what it really did, honestly, more so than anything else, is it was more fuel for the fire of let's not do the Usos anymore. I've been saying it. No one's listening. Don't do the Usos anymore. Jay's got his own thing going. Jimmy's on the way up as a singles. We don't need this shit with the Usos anymore. It hurts the legacy. It hurts the legacy because they're just leave them alone. Just leave them to do what they're doing. Because at this point, all they're going to do is jobs, and you have to start asking yourself about diminutive returns. Is it worth it to continue to bring them out there? Not because it's a bad thing, like they can't work or whatever the case may be. It's just we're trying to make them into superstars. We're trying to make them into main event talent. That's what we're doing with the two Bronze as well, but the Usos are further ahead than the Bronze. We don't want to put over the Bronze at the expense of the Usos. We want to put the Bronze on the same level as the Usos, and that performance did not do that. At all. I don't think anybody walked away from that match and said, they really stood toe-to-toe with these guys. They're ready for the big time. I don't recall hearing that all too often. So, this match, 17 minutes, 12 seconds, this whole pay-per-view it was frustrating. It was frustrating because you're waiting for it, for the breakout, right? You're waiting for that breakout moment, which leads us to the next match, because this was the match that everyone refers to now as the saving grace. Of all the matches that happened on this card, it looks like this one should have been your main event. Stephanie Vacour, Io Sky, the women's world title on the line. Io looking to recapture gold, Stephanie looking to capture it for the first time on the main roster. They balled out. They had a phenomenal match. Unfortunately, the damage was done by here. By here, the damage was done. A lot of viewers' focus was off the show by then. Now, people said this was a phenomenal tag team. This was a phenomenal title match. Io Sky clearly is one of the best in the world, and she's in there with Stephanie, who also happens to be one of the best in the world. These are two titans competing for a title. They're going one-on-one with each other. Phenomenal business, phenomenal stuff. And it was great. Down to the finish. That spiral tap was a thing of beauty. So many different things. This, where it was placed, right in the middle, it could have enhanced so many things. A hot start into a decent bridge to this match 3. Man, your pay-per-view would have been cooking. Would have been sizzling right here. Instead of cooking and being on fire, and it's drowning. The show was drowning up until this point. And they needed something to keep it from going completely under, and this match did that. This match gave you hope that we can get this back on track. And we crowned a new champion. Stephanie Vacour is now the World Women's Champion. Congratulations to her. This was a great match. And then we moved on to what I thought would be the main event of the show. And maybe it should have, maybe it should not have, based on the story, based on all the action that took place. Perhaps it would have been a better idea for the main event than our main event, than the one that we got, I should say. But it was CM Punk, AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch, battle of the married couples. And this is the problem, 29 minutes, 18 seconds. Bullshit. There's your mistake. This had all the pieces together. I was digging the build. I was digging the promos. I was digging the interviews leading up to it when they had everybody seated down and they were asking them questions about the show. They had me. They absolutely had me. 29 minutes for the story that they were trying to tell, No good. No good. They were doing so many cool things in the beginning of this match, and this match was so good at the start. It was perfect. It was weird to see two grown men in the ring building up toward hot tags for their wives, which is usually the opposite, but it worked here. Because this is not your usual husband-wife combination. This is two of the best females in WWE history. In the ring, out of the ring, complete packages. These are women who know their fucking way around a wrestling ring. The expectation, the bar of expectation is high. And it's unfair because AJ Lee hasn't been in a ring competitively in front of an audience in 10 years. And Becky's never wrestled AJ ever in her entire career, so there's no chemistry developed just yet. So maybe it was unfair. But based on the promos, based on the build, based on everything that was happening, the anticipation was high. For sure, it was high. And they had a match that, if it would have been 10 minutes shorter, would have probably gone down as one of the best mixed tag team matches of all time. Just based on the story alone, and the things that they were accomplishing in the ring, it would have surely been considered one of the best ever. But once it passed that mark, it just wouldn't stop. They just kept going and 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 false finish, false finish, false finish, false finish. Now we have tandem table spots. Now we have that. All this match really did was expose AJ. That's all it really did. We refer to AJ, and fairly so, because that's what it felt like at the time. She was ahead of her time. Her promo ability, her ability in the ring, it was ahead of its time. Nobody at that time, when she was on top, was doing the shit she was doing. She was special. Now she's in a ring in the women's division with women who do shit like that all the time. That's a Tuesday for a lot of the women in the women's division. The shit that she used to do back in the day. The shit that made her seem special. It's not so special anymore. So now what it looks like is a person who hadn't been in the ring in 10 years. And that's not a knock. It literally was the first match she's had in years. She's going to bounce back from that. She's going to get even better. But for a showcase of her abilities, I'm assuming this is the reason they put her in a tag match to start. So that they could hide the deficiencies, get her some ring time, sharpen those skills. Then we can unleash her in the godliest of ways. But it wasn't like she was out of breath either. It wasn't like she was blown up. But it was just nonstop. It just kept going and going and going, and it just put her, I think, in an unfair position because she is not used to going. It's been a while. And I just kind of felt like they hung her out to dry on that one. I felt like they exposed her. I felt like they kind of put her in a really shitty position where she had to do way more than maybe she was capable of doing this early in her return. Punk and Seth got a chance to do what they were going to do, and that's fine. That's what they do. I have no idea where this feud's headed with Punk and Rollins. I know that there's a world title involved, and we'll get to that at some point. But all of a sudden, a beef between them pivoted to a beef between them and their wives. And you can't sustain that all the way through. So I'm personally just curious where they're going to be headed with this program and how they're going to get the wives out of it. Because that's where we're going to wind up at some point. We got to get to the real business here. That World Heavyweight Championship. So I don't know. We'll see. But this match was 29 minutes, and there's a good chance it probably shouldn't have been. Which leads me to the main event. Because that's another situation that I don't understand. Because I said it last week when we were going over the card and going over who was going to be competing against who and all this other stuff. I said it last week. This is the coldest Cody Rhodes has been since his return to WWE. This is the coldest that Drew McIntyre has been since his return to WWE. Both of these individuals, cold. Not a lot happening here. And I wasn't even opposed to the match. It's a good match. I didn't need them to be the main event. Somewhere in the middle would have been fine. Maybe even if you swap the mixed tag with this one. Maybe those 29 minutes don't feel so bad if they're the main event. Who knows? But Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre have a lot of chemistry. And this is not a knock, but two of the safest wrestlers you're going to find in WWE. They know the formula like the back of their hands. This was another Raw match. Nothing about this match felt big time. This pay-per-view was promised to be extraordinary. You've never seen stuff like this before. We're going to do some stuff tonight. You guys are going to be talking about it for years to come. And the pay-per-view happened on Saturday, and on Sunday, people didn't even remember that it happened. Cody Rhodes successfully defending his WWE Championship. Obviously, of course, because why would he not? And again, I don't even have a problem with Cody. But the ideology that was a main event match, I'm sorry. I don't buy into it. I didn't buy into it last week before it happened. They didn't do anything in that match to change my thought process on that. They had a match. Simple as simple does. And we're getting to a point with Drew McIntyre where nobody is of the belief that he's going to win that title back. Every time he gets into a world title match, nobody believes he's going to win the title. Nobody. So that's going to start having some problems for Drew McIntyre's career. He's been in these title matches a million times. He never wins any of them. They always give him an out of some kind, so that there's an excuse to put him back in the title match another time. But he's not winning any of them. He just doesn't. He doesn't win any of the big matches, ever. Biggest match of his career about a year ago was the feud with Punk, and he lost that. Should have. But it's just another example of him taking another goddamn loss. I noticed, SmackDown is coming up this week, so maybe we'll see what he has to say about his loss at Wrestlepalooza. But where do you take Drew McIntyre from here? We said it on the show here, that it's only a matter of time. He's a main event player waiting to happen. Hasn't happened. So, I don't know where to take it. They're the ones telling the story. They're the ones who are supposed to be telling me where these characters and where these people are going next and where they're coming from. And stay tuned for more, but what's happening? I know Cody's doing the movie. So's Roman. A lot of moving parts. So a lot of people were also giving a lot of credence to ESPN, who had an individual. He rated, I guess you could say, the pay-per-view for the ESPN app and for the ESPN website. He gave it a grade. I'm trying to find. I had it up earlier. Hold on, the grade. So yeah, he gave it a C. The writer who graded it. He graded each match, and the average was a C. He graded it a C pay-per-view. And his grades I got it here now in front of me. Stephanie Victoria and Io Sky, he gave a B+. The Vision and the Usos, he gave a C. Punk, Lee, and Rollins and Lynch also gave a C. Rhodes and McIntyre was a C, and he gave Lesnar and Cena a C-. And I can't even... The gentleman who wrote this article, his name is Andreas Hale. And if we're being real, I can't disagree with a lot of that shit. I don't want to be that guy, because this is probably a person at ESPN who doesn't have a whole lot of history with WWE. Probably doesn't really understand what he's grading, but he sees what he sees, and what he sees is what they presented. And what they presented was a C-level pay-per-view. And if we're going to continue to get this, even though it's 5 matches, 3 hours, whatever the case may be, this is going to hurt more than it helps. It just is what it is. It's going to hurt more than it helps. Can't say it any different than that. This was the first night on ESPN. First night. And this is what they chose to give. So, it is what it is. And the next pay-per-view, we're heading to Australia. No Mercy, that's NXT. Crown Jewel in Australia. You know Rhea Ripley's going to be on the card, so that's a banger right there. Whoever she's in the ring with, that'll be the banger right there. And we'll see what happens. If we get Rhea Io for that pay-per-view and then Stephanie and another competitor for the world title, like Stephanie maybe in like an Asuka or something, that's 2 bangers right there. The women's division is trying to keep this goddamn company afloat. They're struggling right now. Is all the other divisions aside from the women. So we'll see. The women's division doesn't exactly have a clear path either. But so far, for the year, when we've talked about banger matches taking place at pay-per-views, we've been talking a lot about the women. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. Next week, Dave will be back. We'll be recording on Thursday as opposed to the normal Tuesday. So we're going to be releasing everything, of course, on Friday. So stay tuned for that. We have the anniversary coming up where we will be live. Which day that week, still kind of up in the air because we're just trying to make sure our schedules are good, man. Because last week our schedule got screwed up. This week our schedule got screwed up. So we're just trying to make sure that it's all together. All the ducks are in a row. So we'll know next week for sure. Okay? So, short version, but a long time since I've been with you guys alone. But this was fun. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for sharing. Excuse me. Oh, my God. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for downloading. And, of course, thank you guys for enjoying. So we're going to see you guys next week. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out the merch, ajorum.com. We'll see you next week.
Like drop. Wait a minute. This is too much. Cooking it like a pro. Wrap it up, everybody. Show's over.